Did you know that a famous connection can make all the difference to the value of a prized possession? All will become clear on today's Priceless Antiques Roadshow. One of the things I've learned since starting on the Antiques Roadshow is that no matter how many items you see, there's always a surprise in store. And today's selection is no exception. Think your objects have been touched by fame? We hear from a lady with a cast iron claim.
And you nursed Winston Churchill?
Yes, that's correct.
It seems strange, but she seemed to be completely undaunted by the fact that she was working for such a famous man.
A chance find during an attic clear-out has life-changing consequences.
When Paul Atterbury said that these are wonderful, I just was amazed, utterly amazed.
And a lesson in self-control from the experts.
Probably the finest bits of silver I have ever seen on an Antiques Roadshow.
It is quite difficult to almost keep a straight face because you're so itching to tell them that it's worth a huge amount of money.
The Antiques Roadshow is no stranger to the lives and loves of the rich and famous. Rock legends, sporting heroes, politicians, princesses. They all turn out when the show comes to town. Or at least their possessions do. But what can a celebrated connection add to an item's value? It's no good just claiming a link to the stars. You've got to prove it.
Well, it's one of John McEnroe's old rackets.
No, the great John McEnroe.
Yeah.
I have to do it just to say that I've strummed Mark Bolan's guitar.
And what better proof than having been handed the item by the star themselves?
Absolutely, the boxes are actually the handmade cigars,
Yes.
Churchill's, which were his own, obviously,
Yes.
terribly fascinating. But well, normally you wouldn't really bother with cigars, but these were obviously from Churchill. And how she got them, marvellous story. So this is the Society of Chartered Nurses, Sister A.M. Wright. You're Sister Wright, are you?
That's right. I was Sister Wright.
You was Sister Wright. And you nursed Winston Churchill.
Yes, that's correct. I came down from the north of England to London, joined the Society of Chartered Nurses, very smart-sounding name.
In his old age, Churchill needed constant medical care. Inevitably, the services of nursing staff were sometimes called upon with very little notice.
And then I received a telegram asking me if I would mind joining the boss on a cruise around the Aegean. So I felt I couldn't really refuse that.
It seems strange, but she seemed to be completely undaunted by the fact that she was working for such a famous man. But there again, you know, there he was probably in his 90s. And she was probably in her 20s. And I suppose what she saw was a rather old man, really. You've got a wonderful collection of little bits and pieces from Winston Churchill.
Right.
You've got 3 cigars. Now tell me, why 3 cigars? 4 cigars?
We used to sit next to him, you know, one nurse with Sir Winston after his meal, just the two of us. He would have a cigar and he would hand over the box, you see, and I think he thought it was quite amusing that this young strip of a girl would say, "Thank you very much."
But, you know, for nurses to receive cigars, or even letting their patients smoke, is not a good idea, is
You
it?
couldn't stop. I don't think you could stop
Yes.
him, no.
To be frank, if she had not had a story to go with the Churchill memorabilia, they could have come from anywhere. Churchill cigars with the provenance that you have, that you've got all these letters and the fact that they're in a Churchill box and all that sort of thing, I would say somewhere in the region of £1,500 to £2,000 possibly. It was only the fact of the glue, her story, the cohesion of all these things together made them absolutely perfect and wonderful items to collect.
Sometimes, though, such claims to fame aren't quite so watertight. A lesson learned by presenter Philippa Forrester when she joined Hilary Kay at a children's roadshow.
Because my mum was in the Beatles fan club.
Oh, right.
And they actually signed it.
Paul McCartney there. Paul McCartney, John Lennon, George Harrison, Ringo Starr. And is there some more stuff in there then?
Yeah, went to see the first film, Magic Mystery Tour.
This is a private screening of the Magical Mystery Tour.
Yeah, and she got that signed as well.
What, did John Lennon there?
Yeah.
Cool, lummy.
With Beatles signatures, I suppose 90% of the signatures that you see aren't right for all sorts of reasons. They're either printed or they are written by a member of the roadie group. There are very few out there that are right.
Now that one, this the actual invitation to the screening, that's genuine. I mean, the fact that she met them and she got them signed. Now,
so hold on though, this has come from the fan club signed.
How many members of the fan club do you think there were? Thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands.
Now, if they had signed everything that they're supposed to have signed, they would never have had any time to do anything else but, they'd have been sitting there for 10 years doing nothing but signing photographs.
Right. This one, the fan club Christmas card, because they had to send out thousands and thousands, they got somebody else to do the signatures for them.
Yeah.
So let's see.
They don't exactly look the same.
You're absolutely right.
There's not a curl on that.
Dead right. I mean, look at the way the G's done.
Yeah.
That's a good. Yeah. Once you've seen quite a lot of them, it's quite easy to tell. But, I mean, you must tell your mum not to be too disappointed.
Yeah.
Because at least she's got one that's right. And that's actually quite valuable. That would be worth £200.
Yes, I can say that is Paul McCartney's signature and it's real. But how did you get it? That's much more interesting. So the question I always ask clients when they bring things in is that what is the history or what is the provenance? Because that adds a huge amount to the value.
Well, this was owned by George Formby.
The George?
My hero, yes.
Star of stage and screen, George Formby became famous during the 1930s for singing and playing the ukulele. Enormously popular, he endeared himself to his audiences with his cheeky Lancashire humour. If this really is his kimono, it'll be highly sought after.
My father purchased this in 1961 when George Formby, all his effects were put up for auction, and this is one of the prized possessions.
Isn't that wonderful?
Which was used in the film South American George in 1941.
And how do we know that?
I mean, it's ideal with the kimono when somebody can turn up and you ask the question, how do you know it's George Formby's kimono? And there he pulls out, and here's a photograph.
We have some prints from the film.
Right.
And there is George wearing this gown.
And then there's a scene in the film where he's the actual kimono is stabbed through with a knife, and he could show me the hole.
And there's the very patch that the studio put on.
Isn't that wonderful?
We know it's the proper thing.
It's the proper thing.
So there's no question about it. It was that kimono that we can see in the photograph. And if you're a buyer, that gives you much more confidence to keep on bidding.
If you did put this into auction, we're probably thinking of a figure in excess of £10,000. So...
Well, I'd never put George Formby and a kimono together before, but hearing a great story like that, I can see why our specialists love their job. But I sometimes wonder what first inspired them in their chosen career. Here's an intriguing glimpse of the little girl who grew up to become our very own Penny Brittain.
I remember this bowl and leaf all my life. It used to be in my grandmother's sitting room, filled with lavender, and it was her lavender bag, and the whole place would smell of lavender, she would smell of lavender, and that's what I really remember about my childhood. But at the time, I didn't know what this bowl was, but I was absolutely captivated by it because it's in the shape of a cabbage. And I loved the painted centre. And subsequently, many years on, after I'd inherited it, I realised, in fact, that it was a red anchor Chelsea bowl dating from about 1745. So it was a really early piece of English porcelain. I love it. My mum gave it to me because she said, you're the only person in the family who will not break it, basically. Well, little did she know, after a while I got remarried and inherited 2 new young stepsons and a stepdaughter, and they used to come at the weekend. And imagine my horror one day when I walk into our barn and they are serving tennis practice, using the bowl as the spot to get the tennis ball in, and if it went in their serve, they were absolutely triumphant. Until I said, chaps, do you know, possibly not a good idea. Why? Well, you may be interested to know that the bowl on its own is worth about £2,000 to £3,000. And I can honestly say tennis was never played in the barn again.
Now, it's always a wonderful moment on the Antiques Roadshow when we can drop an unexpected piece of good fortune into somebody's lap. One visitor, Mo Blundy, had no idea that she was taking the first steps on a very surprising journey when she found a long-forgotten box in her attic.
What you brought me here is just, as I say, it's dreamland.
I was turning out the loft with a neighbour of mine, and we discovered these posters that belonged to my uncle, and she thought they might be of some value. So she persuaded me to go to the Antiques Roadshow, which was an experience that I shall never forget, ever.
We're looking at a staggering group of 1920s and onwards posters, designed by, in some cases, well-known designers.
Yes.
And we've got this fantastic history of British design.
I didn't want to go. I didn't want to make a fuss. I thought they're not worth anything, you know. She's just dragging me along for something to do, and I don't really want to go.
See, now we're getting into my area. Yeah. If I wanted anything, I'd want railway posters.
Yes.
Now, the bigger ones. Oh, look at that.
There was one absolute cracker, which was a big sheet showing the Flying Scotsman train going through the landscape on its way to or from Scotland. It was a glorious image.
The most famous locomotive in the world.
It is.
God, you know, one would die for that image, wouldn't you?
When Paul Atterbury said that these are wonderful, I just was amazed, utterly amazed. They're things that you used to see up in the backs of trains when I was a kid. And he just enthused about them, thought they were wonderful. And something that I thought was useless, he brought to life.
Is this all you've got?
No, I have more at home.
More in quantity, or?
About 30 or 40.
You like them?
Yes, I do.
But you don't display them?
I don't display them, I have nowhere to put them.
OK, what do you think they're worth?
I have not a clue.
The challenge for all of us on this programme is price. And when you're doing a valuation of something that you really, really love, somehow your judgment begins to slip. And sometimes you're guilty of cranking the price up simply because you think it's such a great object.
Start with that. £400 to £600. OK? The Flying Scotsman will be £800 to £1,000. So, if you've got 30 good posters,
yes,
take an average price of £500.
Yeah.
Do you feel like a cruise?
Somewhat, yes. I am stunned. I really am stunned. It was amazing. I just could not believe that they would be worth that much money. For an advertisement, we went back home, we still couldn't believe it. We were smiling all the way. We kept talking about it. We ran out of petrol on the way home, I may add. Couldn't believe it. She said, OK, my neighbour, that is, said that we must put them on disc and send them out and see what they're worth and what we're going to do with them. We photographed them and sent them off to the auction house.
When things come up for auction, of course, that's the point when you can see, did I get it wrong or did I get it right?
Well, we received a letter from Mo outlining all the posters that she had with just a brief description and a title. So as soon as we received the letter, we thought, wow, this is a fantastic collection. And to our delight and surprise, they were exactly what we'd hoped to be seeing. And some fantastic images, 2 of which we've never seen before, coming up at auction, so even more exciting.
They said that if we were agreeable, that they would take them down and they would catalogue them and put them in one of their auctions. They had 2 a year, and I was surprised that it would come up so soon.
Now, had I found a pile of railway posters in the cupboard that I didn't know about, that unexpectedly were worth a lot of money. Would I sell them? You bet I would.
Lot number 209. Terence Cuneo, an engine is wheeled. There we go. Fine looking poster showing for us on the screen.
It's the anticipation of the unknown. We just do not know what's going to happen. They may sell, they may not. People may want them, they may not.
Interest here already.
These are tense moments for Mo and her friend Eileen. But almost immediately it's clear there's no need to worry.
£900 against at £1,600, £1,700, thank you sir, £1,800
There
now.
is fierce competition for the best lots, and the prices rapidly surpass Paul's valuations.
2002, sold 2002, selling to the telephone here at £850, sold 950. £1,000, £1,100 here. Selling at £2,000. Are we all done? At £2,000.
Finally, it's the lot everyone's been waiting for. Paul's favourite, the rare Flying Scotsman.
Mason, the Flying Scotsman. There we are, showing for us on the screen. Fantastic poster, very rare. And we'll start this off with interest, of course, at £1,300, £1,400, £1,500, £1,600 at £1,600, £1,700, £1,800 now at £1,800, 19 at the back, 2,000 here, 2,000. Would you like 3,000, sir? At £3,000 on my left, against you, sir, on the right. 3,005, thank you. At 3,005, £4,000, thank you. At £4,000 against you online. At £4,000, at £4,000. 4,005, thank you, Magnus, now with the telephone at 4,005 against you online. It's against the room and it's selling then to the telephone at £4,500. Sold, 4,005, thank you. 909.
I was thinking it might have made £600 or £700, but to have made that much money, it's just amazing.
I think I said it was 1,000 or something like that. I gather it sold for 4.5. Good. I don't feel I was wrong. I feel I was right in picking out what was a very rare image. And I think I valued the whole collection at something like 15,000, 17,000. And I'm glad to say I seem to have got it right, which is a bit of a relief.
We have made today £17,350, and we didn't really expect to. I was taking the lower estimates and expecting about 5,000, and it's come up to that much. And it's just amazing to have made so much money from something I was going to throw away. These things happen to other people, not to me. Definitely never to me. I'm never that lucky, but I am today.
Those posters were so beautiful, weren't they? Wouldn't we all like to find something as valuable as that hidden in our lot? That lady was so thrilled to hear the good news. And you know what? Our experts are no different. Sometimes they can hardly contain themselves.
It's so exciting. I'm shaking holding it.
It's all very exciting stuff. I'm nearly dying of excitement here. I can't take any more of it.
I'm very excited by it myself. I think it's tremendous.
My great love is Japanese things, and Hexham was just amazing.
Those are attractive pieces of porcelain from Japan. This one probably about 1700. This is quite an early edition.
I've got 5 of those.
Lady there came in with piece of porcelain after piece of porcelain after piece of porcelain, and whenever I said this is worth £300 to £400, she said, "Oh, I've got 10 of those," and off we went.
This little one is honey. I think it's sweet.
Well, there are 10 of those.
Good heavens!
And 5 make a circle, more or less.
I mean, that's extraordinary. Is this part of a set or just
Yes,
one?
10 of those around.
Amazing. Amazing.
When I started saying, this is this and it's worth that, and she then said, "I've got 10 of those, and then I got 5 of those, and there's 15 of those." There was this sort of very slight, "Are you sure?" at the back of my mind. I didn't say it, but she was clearly not making it up.
I've got 10 of those, and each one is slightly different because, same design.
I don't believe this.
Yes, 10 of those.
Wow.
5.
Very unusual to have one.
Yes, real.
And if you totted it all up, all the bits I added up, you'd probably get to around £30,000 or £40,000.
I tell you, this is one of the most exciting collections I've ever had. It's wiped me out for the rest of the day. Wonderful.
David Batty, almost speechless, a rarity in itself. But for a truly excitable expert, we need look no further than silver specialist Alistair Dickinson.
I have to tell you that
when I know something is really valuable and I'm about to tell the person, I get a real adrenaline rush. And it's a very, very exciting moment.
I understand that you are the dean of one of the two cathedrals, St Colum's in Londonderry.
Yes, that's right.
The biggest problem I had about filming with the dean was containing my excitement.
What actually made you decide to bring these along today?
They've been in the keeping of the cathedral for a few centuries now.
I don't think I'm being overdramatic when I say that it was a life-changing experience for me, because in front of me were two of the most important bits of Irish silver I'd ever seen in my life.
They are truly, truly great rarities.
Are they?
Yeah.
Right. Yes.
And this is a communion flagon for the communion wine. It was made in 1655.
I've only ever seen 3-4 pieces of Irish silver made before 1700. So when two flagons appeared in front of me that were drop-dead gorgeous, beautiful colour, beautiful condition, lovely hallmarks, the old heart sort of missed a beat. I thought, wow.
You can understand that I'm getting a bit excited about this.
Sure.
This is the stuff dreams are made of.
It is quite difficult to almost keep a straight face because you're so itching to tell them that it's worth a huge amount of money.
I have to tell you that this group on the table here is worth in excess of £100,000.
Are they really?
Yes. Yes.
I hope the dean didn't think I was just trying to book a quick passage one day up there just by putting a high value on his silver.
But they're kept under very tight security in the cathedral. They're well and securely locked away.
It's been a total and utter privilege and excitement for me to see these today.
Well, thank you very much.
It's not just experts who have feelings, you know. For many of our visitors, the roadshow experience is an emotional roller coaster.
I don't think there's any one particular response to high values on the Antiques Roadshow. Sometimes it's a shock, sometimes it's a surprise, but I don't think there's a single kind of reaction.
All my instincts and the way that it looks makes me feel it's absolutely spot on and beautiful.
When I was in Oldham, we went there. I suppose I didn't think or dream that one was going to find a Lowry, but one hoped something would turn up.
What's the story?
I brought it in for a friend of mine, an elderly gentleman, about 79 years of age. They did belong to his wife, who's passed away. She used to chauffeur Lowry. He was very fond of having people chauffeuring about all over the country.
One, of course, had to be cautious. The market abounds with fakes, but the more I looked at her and heard her story, and the more I looked at what was going on, I thought, these must be genuine.
Does your friend have any idea of what he thinks it's worth?
No.
He's a shy man, is he?
Oh, yes. Very shy,
well,
yes.
I think it's probably worth £100,000.
Oh, gosh.
And then she kind of welled up, and her glasses were darkened. And I hadn't realised till afterwards that tears had come to her eyes, and she was in somewhat of a state of shock.
Oh.
It now becomes a horrible problem, doesn't it?
Oh, yes.
It did give a problem because was she in the right state to take the things back home, and how was she going to get back home? And that's what we tried to secure, was a safe passage home for her.
It's never been off the wall.
You'll be glad to hear that the lady and her Lowry made it home safely. Now, our experts all have their personal heroes in the world of antiques, and it's always an exciting moment when objects crafted by those iconic figures turn up at the roadshow. Paul Atterbury remembers one occasion when he encountered the work of one of his greatest idols.
I spent several years of my life working for the Victorian Art Museum in London, putting together an exhibition about the work of Augustus Welby Northmore Pugin, the greatest designer in Britain in the early part of the 19th century, and really the inventor of what we acknowledge as the Gothic style, the revived Gothic style. How did you get them?
Well, I got them after my uncle died, and I asked for them because they'd always been favourites of mine.
We don't often see Pugin things on the roadshow, But when we do, funnily, I feel they're mine.
They were.
Difficult man, he died aged 40. But his achievement is unbelievable. And I have lists of heroes in my head, and Pugin is one because I know him so well, Brunel is another. And if I can ever film things to do with those people, it really makes me very, very excited. Lovely evocation of Gothic revival in that period.
Right.
I think they're lovely.
That's it for today's show, but we're going to end where we began, by sprinkling a little more stardust. We've seen so many items over the years which have been touched by the stars, and here's one that's particularly special.
I'm reading here Ronnie Barker scripts. Now, the promises that makes for me are, well, I can't describe them, because if what is in this envelope is what it says on the front, then I'm possibly about to hold something very historic, I think. And let's have a look what we've got. What we appear to have as A4, handwritten A4, flicking through various, yes, Gerald Wiley. Gerald Wiley, I'm not sure that many people know, but that was Ronnie Barker's name, essentially. And I see, as I've said that, 4 candles. This is the script for the famous 4 candle sketch. Now, for me, if there was ever a sketch in English comedy, it's the 4 candle sketch by the 2 Ronnies. It just is one of the funniest things I've ever seen, and I think it is probably one of the most famous English comedy sketches. An old ironmonger's shop, a shop that sells everything, garden equipment, ladies' tights, builder's supplies, mousetraps, everything. Please discuss, it says in brackets. So that suggests that this is a draft for the sketch.
They look like that.
Absolutely. This looks like a rough draft that was written by Ronnie Barker. That is so exciting. RB enters, a workman, not too bright either. Yes, sir? Ronnie Barker?
4 candles. 4 candles.
He gets 4 candles from a drawer. There you are, Ronnie Barker.
No, 4 candles. Handles for forks.
It's absolutely classic.
It gets funnier as it
Absolutely,
goes
I can't read. Afterwards, I'm going to have to read this because the thought that he sat down and wrote this, absolutely amazing. How did you come across them?
Well, my mother said that it had appeared on her desk when she had worked as a fundraiser.
So they kind of dropped into your lap by accident, really?
Well, I think I probably rescued them.
Right, they could have ended up in the bin, effectively.
They probably could.
I feel very good about this. It's a one-off, it's a rare thing, but it might surprise you to think that someone would be prepared to probably pay £2,000 for this one alone. £2,000 at auction, because frankly, I think it's almost an impossible thing to put a price on.
So, it's goodbye from me, and it's goodbye from him. Bye-bye.
Neil Oliver's getting blown about on the blustery west coast of Ireland next on BBC Two. Then Rob Brydon introduces us to prairie dogs, a little animal with a rather big voice. Natural World is at 8.